Hello, everyone. Welcome back. This is episode, did I say 5? Yeah, 5, right? Okay, 5. We're getting a little bit mixed up here, but episode 5 of Big Time Auto Racing. It's been a whirlwind to this point. We've raced 5 different racetracks. We've raced one of the biggest races of the year already now, and had a lot of interesting things happen. How you feeling, man? How you feeling going into episode 5 of BTAR here?
Yeah, a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
Obviously we
A little behind this time because of the whirlwind of Wilkesboro experience we went through. We got a lot to talk about, too.
Yeah, well, that, and I think, it obviously being middle of the week's tough on us, and so, but we got, I guess, it kind of worked out with Tri-County getting rained out this weekend, gave us a chance to catch up, so excited to talk about everything.
Yeah, wasn't exactly super mad when they rained that one out. It was, I was looking forward to Tri-County, and especially $30,000 to win and all that. That's a really cool deal. And where they rescheduled it at, we have 3 races in a row now, so it doesn't really help a lot. But in this moment in time, I am excited that we are able to relax this weekend because, boy, did we need it after Wilkesboro.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Speaking of Wilkesboro, we raced there this past Wednesday and spent the whole week there basically partying and watching the Cup boys and the truck racers and all sorts of stuff. Concerts, got to hang out with a bunch of good friends. So we have a whole lot to talk about. But first, before we do that, we want to get into our track ratings.
Yep.
And every week we do track ratings. You guys know it by now. The current standings, leading them all, well, we'll start from the bottom. The current standings, we got Ace Speedway with Hickory with a 6.4. The bathroom rating hurt them a lot there. Then Southern National with a 6.5. Then right into Ace with a 7.0, and then Florence was leading the field still with a 7.7. And I feel like that's fair. It was a fun racetrack. It was a cool area. There was the Buc-ee's down there.
Yeah.
And there was, it's a weird racetrack, but it was fun. But Wilkesboro, a whole different animal.
That's right.
And getting into Wilkesboro, our first category, if you will, is configuration and condition. And we also kind of lump in raceability here to this one.
Yeah.
So this one, it could probably be 2 separate categories, but we'll go with one. And mine for this is a 10.
Yeah.
Because out of spite a little bit, an accurate rating is probably a 9, right? Because there was some areas that were some issues as far as, it was really last minute when they got the track done. So there was still basically wet asphalt out there in some parts. And there was some issues with that. But otherwise, it was really fun. And you ended up with what you ended up with.
Yeah, I rated it at a 9. I think,
so 2 high ratings on this.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think both of us try to kind of stay grounded on, obviously a 10 means it knocks your socks off, which I think, this is borderline there, like you said. I think probably the only reason I didn't say a 10 was kind of like what you said.
It's the most degrading asphalt we go to all year.
Yeah, I think you got to hit on it perfectly with your media availability, getting to go to the media center. There's absolutely nothing wrong with the surface. If people want to continue seeing great racing, and I think we both know the reality is how long it can be preserved is just a matter of time.
Yeah.
However, it's a guarantee that as long as that asphalt is on that racetrack, there's always going to be good racing.
So one thing to note about all this is that, people were complaining a lot on practice day that the track was coming up. They were knocking drill strings out. And first of all, it don't really matter because they're not changing the drill strings anyway. Believe me, they've never drilled one out. Second of all, it was really the new asphalt is what was coming up.
Right.
The old asphalt was fine. Now, there was potholes and stuff, and some of it was from last year when people were out there ripping the track up because they thought it was going to get demolished and they thought it was going to be dirt racing, right? They thought the asphalt was going to be gone. So there actually is some areas that were like, all the areas are human error, I guess, but there was definitely areas where you can tell some people beat up the track a little bit and took their chunks out. They didn't do too bad, but there were some areas like that. But on the racing surface is where the issues arose. And getting into one, I think, was where the biggest issue was. They had to lay down some, I don't know what. Did you see the dray material they put down? It was almost like clay or something.
Are you talking about when we had to sit for practice?
Sat.
But so for me personally, I'm not saying there wasn't enough, but that was the only spot I knew of the whole weekend.
Me too. That's why I was like, I don't know why everybody's so acting like it's just absolutely falling apart. I mean, there was one place right when the supers went out there, which ain't surprising, right? I mean, there's a lot of, that was the most supers that track seen in a while, and those damn things got some bite to them. So,
well, it was 80 degrees.
80
and
degrees.
We put 140 race cars out on Wilkesboro that had sat since we had all been there in August.
Yeah, so.
Well, I guess they did the tire test there for truck and cup, but still, I mean, there's like three trucks, 3 cars.
There's been a pack of cars out there. So yeah, some of the new asphalt patches came up, right? And that's part of it. I mean, it just happens, and it was it was a last minute deal. I understand it, but the amount of complaining that happened from some of the drivers was a little absurd.
Well, I tweeted, and like I said, everybody's going to hear this, and feel free when we put this out to make your own comments. But I think people were getting sealer confused with asphalt.
Yeah,
the sealer was coming up
for sure.
Comes up everywhere, guys.
Yeah.
It's tacky.
Go test at Hickory after they lay sealer.
100%.
And see which car looks like.
I'm not sure that my race car hit a piece of asphalt all weekend.
Yeah,
it may have, but if so,
I had a big dent in my crush panel, lower crush panel, that obviously I hit something. I don't know. I never heard it, but I hit something. So I'm not saying there wasn't issues, but it's not like Franklin County. Like, it's not like it was coming apart in the race and they had to stop the race ever. And that's just part of it. We knew it would happen, but we're gonna keep moving on, because that. I think everybody on this that listens to this show is probably a real racer, and they love good racing, and they're gonna be just fine with some asphalt coming up, and they're definitely gonna be just fine with some worn out asphalt. So
absolutely
9 and 10 on that first score. Next score, and this one's a little bit unfair for every track usually, but the next one we like to do is phone signal, and that's just kind of a general statement for just how your phone works in the area. I mean, if you can tweet from the track and all that. And most of the time, I could get some stuff out there.
Right.
Like, it wasn't completely
dead.
It wasn't dead. Now, I couldn't get a picture or video to come through from nothing. But, and Race Trace, I couldn't really get to work great, because now the new way that he does things worked awesome. And once I got back to Wi-Fi, I was fine. But at the track, it kind of sucked. The signal did. So, Signal, I gave it a 6. Now, that's actually fairly high for the season. And that's because they did have the Marcus Smith's Wi-Fi, SMI's Wi-Fi, which is fans first. And it would sometimes connect, and then it would sometimes not.
Right.
And then you would get booted off, and so on and so forth. So, it wasn't flawless, but it was a hell of a lot better than last year. That's why I gave it a 6.
Yeah.
Because last year, we couldn't even pull up Race Monitor.
Yeah, so... Exactly, and that that's one thing I can say that I never did have an issue with Tuesday or Wednesday was Race Monitor. Mm-hmm. And then, like you said, I bumped mine up. Mine was a 7 for that category, and mainly because of Marcus and then making the effort that at least Wi-Fi was an option. Is it going to work great? I feel confident in saying there's not going to be a racetrack that we go to this year or that we've been to so far that with as many people are there, that if you even have Wi-Fi, it's not going to boot you out at some point. That's just
crazy.
The facts. So I gave it a 7. It wasn't terrible, wasn't great, could always be better, but like you said, it's not like you might as well put the phone up, not even try to use it for the week. So
yeah, it wasn't too bad. Up next is concessions, and this one's always a weird score for me and you, because we typically don't eat at the racetrack. However, this weekend I did get to eat some, but it was on truck day and all that, and all-star pit stop day, all that. So I did get to eat, but here's the deal. It was not track concessions. It was food trucks and outside vendors that came in to park like in the concourse area, and that's where you got your food at, because I guess the track wasn't ready to tackle that yet. Now, I think in the future that's their goal, and I'm looking forward to it, because I'm sure they'll have some great stuff. But some of these food trucks were awful. Some were really good. You said Cameron had some really good barbecue.
My buddy Cameron came down.
It looked good.
He came down from Toledo, Ohio, and he was hungry. And I said, unfortunately, until Steve gets here later, which he comes and makes meals for us on the race day, I said, I think your only option is going to be that food truck over there. I said, but it smells good. So he went to the one right by the tech shed, which I apologize to whoever you are. I don't know the name, but I do know it was a barbecue slash brisket truck.
Flat black barbecue brisket truck.
Yeah, and he said it was high. It was $25, but he said it was some of the best barbecue brisket he's ever ate in his life. So
yeah, I'm sure it was good. It looked good. I did not get to try that. I went on the outside of the track, like I said, and I got something that you would see at a carnival or a fair or whatever. One of those trucks that say burgers, fries, corn dogs, hot dogs, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
One of those general everything food things. It's like it's like a Golden Corral on wheels.
Right.
Well, I got a burger, and it was vile and disgusting, to put it lightly. It was maybe half of it. Well, I don't know. It was just real thin, and it was it was like a lunch. It was like a cafeteria lunchroom at school burger. Like, it was not good. Had no taste to it. It was definitely not real meat. Got fries. The fries were standard, and the corn dog was pretty good though. The corn dog was good. I got some peanuts and Cracker Jacks, but here's what also factors in. So my burger sucked. Don't get me wrong. I will not put that lightly. It was one of the worst ones I've ever had in my life. However, they also, at Wilkesboro, in this concourse area, they sell moonshine from Crawl Family Distillers, and they have $3 to $5 beers in the area. So hard to beat that. They were selling Last Lap Lager. There was beer available everywhere. They had people walking around in the stands selling beer like you'd see at a baseball game or a regular race.
First time since the pandemic at a sporting event I've seen that in a while.
Same. So,
where you could do that. So
that was cool. So even though they had an awful burger and didn't have food available directly from North Wilkesboro Speedway selling them, I still gave the rating a 6 because of the availability of liquor and beer. It was very easy to get a hold of.
Yeah, like you said, I mean, I hate even having to do it for this category because, like you said, normally this, I guess, was a rarity. Yeah. I still did not. Well, you know what? I did, but I've already scored it, so I'll just leave it as is. My wife Shelby got a chicken Caesar wrap.
Okay.
On Saturday at the truck race.
From where?
Right there where we were sitting, because I was in the same section you were, just up behind you. And I did eat probably 2-3 bites of it, and it was fantastic.
Pretty good.
Could have used a little more Caesar dressing, but chicken was cooked good, wasn't bland at all. So I was shocked when she got it.
Chicken Caesar wrap, that's a rarity.
Yeah, when she texted me, that's what she was getting. I said the same thing. I was like, where?
Yeah.
And okay,
that's cool.
So, but I gave it a 4, and like I said, I hate to even do that, but I didn't. Other than that, I didn't have anything, but like you said, I commend them for having stuff readily available. I think it was cool to do the kind of food truck vibe deal. Mm-hmm. Having that. Yeah,
I like the food truck vibe.
Yeah.
I just chose the wrong one. It's just part of it.
Yeah. So, to the right of us, to that Grants, I don't know if you ever saw it, but it was some kind of like, I don't know if they were frozen drinks, but it was like.
I know what you're talking about.
So I thought that was cool.
It was some kind of, I don't know if they were alcoholic either.
Oh, no, yeah, they were. Colin went over there twice.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense.
Yeah. So.
Colin, we'll have to talk about that guy. I'm not sure if he even exists. So the concessions, nothing to write home about, but they really weren't in full force yet. So we're not going
to re-rate them.
I think one day we'll probably eat those words, and it'd be really good there. Yeah. Up next, facilities and shitters. Now this one is mostly focused on the bathrooms, but we also take into account the conditions of, the tech shed, the press boxes, and Wilkesboro is obviously a cup track now, so that is it's going to be a little different.
Yep.
It's usually when we go to places, we don't have this many things to rate. There was some extremely badass suites and cool new renovations. The sands are awesome. The backstretch suites that we got to go in, the hospitality deals, those were really cool. Mm-hmm. There was a lot of cool stuff everywhere. The bathrooms were in really good shape. They redid the bathrooms, and I thought it was accommodating for especially a late model race. Now on Cup Day, it might get a little frantic in there, but as long as there's not a million fans, and that made things easier this year. By the way, they didn't allow pit passes to everyone.
Oh yeah, we could actually move around,
and you could do stuff in the pits without having to worry about running over fans or just stuff, fans taking over the bathrooms and concessions and stuff. Not that it's a bad thing, but it's just, it definitely made things easier for us, right?
100%.
But anyway, I gave it a 9, and the reason it wasn't a 10 is because it's hard to have a perfect bathroom. I had no issue with the bathrooms. They all had locks on them, plenty of space in between.
That's big.
They smelled good. They weren't dirty. They were new. They had someone working them all the time, somebody in there cleaning, redoing so it was actually really nice. But the only reason it's not a 10 is because on Wednesday, before the race, a week before the race, when I went and did a car show at the open house, I walked into a porta potty and almost vomited. I mean, it was something awful. I can't begin to explain
what you experienced
with good conscience and sit here and put in your mind the picture that I seen. But it was a mountain, is all I got to say. A mountain eclipsing out of the top of the seat. So that's what I seen, and I'm not ever will I ever go anywhere near that porta potty again if I can help it. It was something that I can't put into words how disgusting it was. So that's why it's a 9. But that was a porta potty, and that was a week before the race. Now, the porta potty beside my trailer, which we also had a TV by my trailer, that was nice. We had a great parking spot. Y'all didn't have a great parking spot.
We did not.
Parking day was a shit show. We'll get into that.
Yeah. It's a good thing Lee's not with us.
Don't let me forget to get into the parking deal. And the rainouts and all. I mean, there was just a lot of stuff that went on. But, yeah, so our porta potty by our trailer was actually really clean and stuff, though. So all the porta potties weren't bad. But I picked a bad apple, and I went in there, and it hurt the rating a little bit. I will never get that smell and sight out of my brain for the rest of my life.
Yeah. I gave it an 8, and I'm probably being a little too stiff, but same thing you said. I mean, I tried to not be biased because where I work at, we did renovate the suites, and all that. So proud of that, and I know heard a lot of feedback, on that, and obviously they turned out really nice.
I like how you can see the cool piece of granite y'all did with the color, the logo. I like how it's lit up at night.
Yeah.
I didn't notice that until, I think, Cup Day. I was like, damn, you can see it all the way over
here.
Yeah.
So yeah, we did the LED lights on the back of it. So really cool to get to do that. And then, like you said, the facilities I used in the infield were clean. Obviously, one thing I think that we could tie into that, I guess you could consider it, a facility is obviously the lift being in working condition,
right.
And getting to see that. So, as you said, one thing that I do commend them on too, which I don't really think it was an issue last year. I think it just ties into like what you said with the amount of people. It may have seemed that way, having to wait a little bit, but there was not a shortage of porta-johns.
Yeah, no doubt.
And like, all the ones I went in, I got lucky, I guess, unlike you. I didn't pick a bad apple all weekend. So, and then like you said, it was easier to get around, as you said, it's not a bad thing, but just there and what we all experienced, it was cool to experience. And can definitely call it a once-in-a-lifetime thing, but it was just so many people last year. I mean, you literally couldn't get around.
Yeah.
So
8 and 9 on the facilities and shitters rating, and the final and fifth rating, is the nightlife and the area, and just basically this rating is how the party was.
Yeah.
And boy, was it something! It started Monday, really. Monday night we did the Two Boroughs show. I had some beer that night. Tuesday night, took it real easy until we raced the next day, but, still had some beers and hung out. Wednesday night, raised hell. Thursday night, raised hell. Friday night, raised hell. Saturday night, raised hell.
Yep.
Guess what we did Sunday night? We raised hell.
Yep.
So we raised hell for about every night, and seen her at wee hours in the morning several nights, and it was a good time for me. I was living in what I consider probably the greatest time of my life is partying and hanging out at Wilkesboro and just being around cool people and spending time with people you consider closest to you is always fun, especially at this age, man. It don't happen as much.
Yeah, it doesn't.
We probably party a lot more than most people our age, and that's probably because we don't have kids or nothing yet, but man, it was really neat, and got to meet new friends. Inducted Colin Bowden into the Wilkesboro Party Hall of Fame.
Yeah, he got inducted into the Wilkesboro Hall of Fame, and in my mind, classified as the Wilkesboro mascot all in the same weekend.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment.
That is not, folks. That's not a bad classification.
This guy
that's
went
an honor.
from never seeing a track to being basically invited to live there.
100%.
It was crazy. But just a cool deal, a really cool experience, a lot of partying. So for that reason, I gave it a 10. There was nothing bad. There was nothing that really drained I could probably critique it and say, we could have done this better and this better, blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, it was a great time. It was a hell of a week. I was hungover until literally Wednesday of this week. Like, I couldn't get my shit back together. So it was a party, all right. So it was a 10 for me.
Yeah, I gave it a 9, and the only reason is, and so it probably should be a 10 because this reason for why it was a 9 was self-inflicted, but was because of the headache.
Yeah,
that I had.
That's fair. I could have cranked it down and went to a 9 just because of how bad I felt for 2 or 3 days post Wilkesboro, but I tell you what, if you don't have a hangover until Wednesday, you really didn't do it right. I don't think you went hard enough. I had an IV scheduled for Thursday, but they canceled the race. So I'm like, all right, I don't need it now.
Yeah.
But we ended up in pretty good shape. It was
And I think it's not, folks do, like, I think a lot of our headaches, it wasn't necessarily for how hard we went, it was for the lack of sleep.
Yeah, just the lack
For
of,
just
dude,
enjoying it. Enjoying the...
I'm kind of past the point to where I don't, like, I can't really, I can't drink 50 beers and
I don't want to.
throw up all night and go again the next day. I can't drink and rally as much as I used to, but...
I mean, we probably spent more time, me and you personally, and like it was in your vlog this week.
Yeah.
That same scene every night of just looking out at the racetrack right there out behind the new suites.
You know, nobody, I don't think anybody fell over drunk this week or nothing.
If they did, I didn't see it.
It was, I mean, they probably did, but it wasn't us. And
yeah.
So, like, usually one of us has a hell of a night and we just go all to shit. But, like, we were, in most cases, we could reflect at the end. In most cases, we could reflect at the end of the night. Most nights, not every night, but most night, at the end of the night, we could sit there and be like, man, what a great time this was.
Yeah.
This is fun. Let's go eat some pizza or something and sober up. So it was a party, and I think I kind of have to do that. If I don't, I mean, it's just I guess that's the, making videos and stuff of, the party and all that. You kind of have to. And I have 3 alcohol sponsors as my 3 primary sponsors.
Yep.
So, like, I don't really have a choice. So, final score for the 2 of us for North Wilkesboro Speedway is a 7.8, which
new leader
is the new leader. Florence falls down to 2nd overall for the year, and Wilkesboro takes over P1. Not really a surprise.
No.
And there's a couple of 10s in my rating, and that's to be expected, and that's probably a little biased, but at the end of the day, it's our show, so we're going to put what we want up there.
That's right.
There's a,
I think it was a fair assessment.
That's
I mean, it would be easy. We could just walked in here and said, "Oh, you know what? 10, 10, 10, 10."
My final score was a 8-2, and and I had 2 6s in there. I mean, everything else was just great. So it was a good time, man. We had a great time at Wilkesboro, but there was a lot of interesting things that happened, and including a rain out and the parking situation on Tuesday was quite the disaster. So I'm sure it had something to do with NASCAR or whatever, or the other series, but however it works, we were supposed to not be able to park until morning of Tuesday.
Correct.
At lunchtime on Monday, they basically said, hey, we're going to be able to park late model stocks today too. Some of the guys weren't even there, including y'all, right?
Yeah.
Because y'all didn't expect to park till Monday morning.
Yeah. No point in the boys coming down from Alton and spending
I'm
money.
sure everybody scrambled, got up there. And it was a shit show parking. Basically, I guess Monday was fine parking, but Tuesday was a disaster because there was still a lot of cars trying to get in there. There was people unloading in the pits, having to go find a spot, and obviously that wasn't of the Cars Tour's doings. I'm sure that was because you usually never have an issue with Cars Tour. They're really usually on top of it. I'm sure it was somebody else that screwed up that deal, but it was quite the disaster. And when you went over to the ASA side, they had all the room in the world, and split. They having cookouts in between their trailers and shit, and then
having an area in the garage
and on through our trailers like this.
Yeah.
If I'd ate a cheeseburger, another one of them cheeseburgers, I'd never fit through our trailers. So that kind of sucked. The trailer parking deal was kind of an annoyance for sure for everyone, but just part of it. And then the rain came, of course, like it does every time. Rained out the race Tuesday night, and that essentially moved all the ASA stuff to our day, which was Wednesday. The pros and us was supposed to race Wednesday. Well, ended up being Supers, pros, and us all racing the same day, which is already a logistical nightmare of sorts just because of that. But aside from that, it takes away from the experience a little bit, in my opinion. And, for one, there was no fan interaction with drivers, really. We never got to, and for me, it's easy to bitch about something like that because that's my home track. And, of course, I'm, want to be in front of the fans there. And, like, that's the place where I'm going to sell T-shirts. That's the place where I'm going to get to meet and greet with people and get rid of hero cards and hang out with people, see family, blah, blah, blah. But so it's easy for me to make a case for why the hell we should always have an autograph session. But there especially, I felt like you had to make time for it, and the rain screwed us. And we couldn't do it. So that sucked. But, it is what it is. Moving on, we did have a race to run, though. And aside from all this partying, all this build-up, and all the cool stuff, man, how did your race go? You know, you had a good. Let's see. Right before Wilkesboro, you had Ace, which was a promising run, first top 10 of the year. Going into Wilkesboro, feeling pretty good. You went and ran South Boston and knocked some rust off again, keep the momentum going. How'd Wilkesboro go for you?
Yeah, man. You know, so first, had a great time. Qualifying sucked, which was a big bummer. Kind of set up, changed our strategy really and truly for what we had anticipated. We mocked up on Wednesday, and that only session we got when we were P5, so we felt pretty good about it. And I ate the earth out of the racetrack come qualifying time and timed in 23rd. So kind of changed our whole strategy. We elected to do really what we felt like, well, not what we felt like, what logistically was the only chance or what gave us the best chance to have a shot to win the race or run up front, which was to not take fuel. So every time the caution come out, I was shutting the car off, trying to save as much fuel as possible. Me and the 95 were on the same strategy. And it was going...
Not to interrupt, but do you like that? Do you like extra strategy in late model racing?
I do. What? I mean, I think it makes it fun because it would be different if it was like that all the time, you know?
I mean, so in other words, you'd rather it be like that than just 125 laps, let them eat. We'll take a 10-minute break at 75, no tires, nothing, just...
Yeah, because I think it just adds some excitement, and the reason I say that is I've run so many of those bigger races where you do just have that stoppage.
Yeah, typically it's just dominated by the same
I think it just, like...
I agree. I was just asking if you I didn't know what your opinion was.
I think it just plays into those wheelhouses. Like, so for instance, like, you know, you got the big 200 lapper at Sobo. Well, those guys that run there all year, you know, Peyton and, you know, just using him as an example, not to get too long-winded, but I think it just plays in their wheelhouse. They know it's coming.
Yep.
And so they just dominate.
Adds a little bit to it when you have a little strategy.
I mean, you know.
I'm with it. It's a big enough race where there should be a strategy. That's the reason why pit stops in NASCAR are so vital, because it adds so much strategy. Human pit stops add so much of a human element to a race. Not that we're losing spots on pit road, but that's an example from that. That's the same reason that the Cup Series still has pit stops as the reason it's okay for the premier late model stock division in the world to have some strategy races like that.
Well, and to tie into that before I keep going, like, perfect example I feel like is look at Ryan Millington. He got in the wreck on the front stretch. The left side of his car looked like a modified.
Yep.
And he ran with Butterbean for a while there and ended up second.
Yep.
So, and you know, I feel like if the race wasn't the way that it was,
it'd been
probably
15.
Not a possibility. Yeah, at best.
Yeah.
So
anyway, you saving like hell.
We were saving like hell, and
fuel and tires.
Yeah. And so
I knew I was when I was behind you, and I'll get to it. I was like, he's saving fuel. I just stayed on the outside of you so you could do your thing.
Yeah. So we come to a restart, and the 04 was in front of me, and yeah, he was either the leader or he was starting second. I can't remember. I'm pretty sure my spotter told me it was the control car, so he didn't go, bottom line. And I was clear to pull out of line. If we could have done that, I still feel like my race probably ends a little different because those guys that came in and got fuel were behind us. But I was not clear the start-finish line, so I would have had I would have took the risk of having it would have been up to Danny, and it would have been pretty obvious. Unless he went with the fact of, hey, 04 didn't go, but I've been on the receiving end of that before.
Yeah.
So I wasn't able to get down. We got stacked up, and that's when they did have the big wreck. But even by then, I think we had fell back to like 8th or 9th because, I mean, we just got blown by on the backstretch because he didn't get going. So that kind of hurt us a little bit, and already got some of those guys who took strategy back up there because I think there was only like 4 or 5 of us that stayed out. So that hurt us a little bit.
So you restarted on the second row, that restart? Okay.
Yeah, after that first 30. Yeah. If I could have got down, I mean, I don't think we were going to, like, take the leader, and Riggs was the leader. But, I mean, we would have – I think I could have tucked in behind him and kind of rode there for a while because when we had that long green flag run after the big wreck on the front, we passed a ton of cars, and at the end of the 60 segment, we were, like, 8th or 9th.
Right.
So I was feeling pretty good about it.
No doubt.
And came in and got our tires with 30 to go, and – me and Dale were racing like hell, and I gave him a hell of a race for 5-6 laps on the outside, and I think it just cheese grated my tires because 15 to go, I didn't have nothing left, even with putting on fresh rights. So we fell back and ended up 18th. We had a better car than that. I don't think I had as good of a car as my teammate. He was kind of in a different zip code. But then again, like I said, I think he showed. It's crazy to hear late model guys say this, but I think clean air was everything. I really
100% agree. It's a big track, and also he qualified up there.
Yeah.
So like when you qualify on the pole at a race like that, and you have good speed, you don't really have to worry about strategy too much.
Yeah.
And which he did a little bit, which made it cool, right?
Mm-hmm.
Butterbean had to pass cars, even though if that would have been a normal race and he would have started on the pole, the son bitch probably lapped the field.
Yeah.
But like. He also ran a different line in qualifying than everyone.
He did.
So that was neat. And the screwed up part is like I had thought all day, like, damn, I ran the top so much. Like I felt like I could get through the center better when I would enter higher. And I raced like that. And I did race like that last year, but I qualified different and sucked. But
yeah.
Keep digging. Sorry to interrupt.
No, you're good, man. So, yeah, I guess overall the finish ain't going to show it. Last year, we finished 10th. But totally different race.
You finished 10th in Wilkesboro last year?
Yeah.
Oh,
so this year I felt like I was better. Felt like I acclimated quicker, got up to speed quicker, made better gains. Like I said, qualifying was just unfortunate. We played a good strategy, and the car drove good in the race. I could move around. I was happy with that. And so, like I said, just unfortunate circumstances, kind of how it played out there at the end. Coulda, shoulda, woulda. But like I said, held on for 18th. Still, Still ran with the Cup boys all night and finished in front of some of those guys.
I think that's just a testament to how much harder it's gotten this year.
Oh,
I don't
100%.
think, it's not like you really ran any worse than you did last year. It's just that's just how it works out.
Yeah.
You ran your tires. You ran your tires off a little bit and fell back. And last year that probably wouldn't have happened. You'd probably lost 2 spots. This year you lost 8 spots or whatever. You're running 10th and go to 18th. So that's crazy that happens. So. It's just a testament to how damn hard it is.
Absolutely, yeah.
So ended up 18th. Not a great day, but a damn top 20 at Wilkesboro. Was on the lead lap. Got to race with Junior like hell that's the first thing damn my crew told me after the race. I think was damn Brandon and Junior racing like hell for damn 15th or whatever it was at the time. 15th, like, hell yeah.
Well, it's funny because I had the pleasure of having the old High Plains drifter Rick Corelli spotting for me.
Mm-hmm.
And we rolled through 3 and 4, and I'd already passed Junior on the run before. Blew by him. He had some front end damage, and he was falling back hard. And
he's probably a little nervous because he wrecked shit out of you at Florence.
Yeah,
he's like, God dang, he's gonna do it again.
Yeah. So he's like, just hold him tight here, bud. He'll run you clean. And he got that out of his mouth, and we exit forward, and here he goes feeding the door. he's all, and I was like, man. I was like, all right, well.
He's gonna have, if he only gets to race late models once or twice a year, he's gonna damn have fun doing it. That's for sure.
So I actually told Shelby on the way up here. I said, but reflecting back on that, and Junior even told me that after the race was over because he came to find me. It was cool because it didn't matter. It was 15th. That told me this dude's driving his ass off.
Yeah.
He's giving it all he's got, and so that was cool.
One of the greatest ever, and he's racing like hell for 15th. That shows you how hard it is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it really is. Like I hate to keep beating that drum, but it's tough.
Yeah. So like I said, got to, I think. Obviously, and you're going to get into it in a second. I know your night didn't go anywhere near how you played it, but when you sit back, we're all competitors. We've all got adrenaline pumping, and we're all eager to compete and perform and have good runs. But when you look at it at this spectacle and this particular night, it's a little bit bigger than that. And I think at the end of the day, if you were able to load your stuff up, you sit back and look back at how fortunate you were to even be a part of it, and it's something you'll be able to hold on to for the rest of your life.
You ain't kidding about that. Yeah, like you said, I didn't have a great. Mine was a little more rough. Didn't hit anybody, but had some issues. So obviously going in, this is the biggest race of the year for me, and I look forward to it. It's essentially the only reason I'm running the tour. That's why I wanted to get back to. That's why I made the decision to run full time and support the tour. It's so I knew I could race Wilkesboro, and it was worth it. But to start off with, we was pretty good in practice. Ish, we were like top 20, 25th, whatever, and that's okay. And it's filled with 38 on old tires, and I felt pretty good about it. The car had good drive all week, all day Tuesday, and Wednesday, same thing, pretty good in practice. And then I thought that the best way to get a little bit better and be able to have that little extra bit, maybe find my way in the top 10 somehow in qualifying, would be to have a little more drive off, and made a call on air pressure that I deeply regret. I thought that I had enough center turn, and it wouldn't really matter, and all I needed was that drive. So didn't split air pressures as much as I typically would, and Just got tight as shit in the center. I mean, I hadn't been tight in the center all weekend. I'm telling you, I drove every different line. If there's anybody that's going to experience every line at Wilkesboro, it's me.
Yeah.
I tried everything in practice, not because I was searching for speed, but just because I'm like, oh, this works. This is good. This is cool. And would run people down during practice. Like every time I practiced, I ran people down because they'd be barreling it down in there on the bottom, get their tires hot, and they'd suck lap 2.
Yeah.
I wasn't hot lapping. I was just trying to make some good laps, and never got tight in the center. And then qualifying, like I said, just made the wrong call and just washed straight up the track going into 1. And had to wait on it forever and burp the throttle to get it to damn rotate, and basically same thing, just a little less exaggerated on the second lap. And then, of course, second lap, you're already about burnt your shit off anyway. So that's how much of a cheese grater this racetrack is, for those of you that don't know. So we qualified 32nd, which is essentially dog shit last. I mean, there's a couple behind us, but not many. It wasn't a good lap. I hated it because I felt like I would run really good. Most of the time in qualifying, I'm like, we got what we got. But this time I was like, I know, like this track, I can make shit happen here. And it just didn't. It sucked. So started towards the back and talked to you. I mean, talked to you beforehand, kind of knew that my plan was to chill for the most part, just let people wreck, and figured that's what would happen. And it did. But the problem is our fuel pump took a shit. And it was, I guess it was the gasket. We had a rental motor in the car, and that was because at Ace, where we missed the race, like I explained on the vlog and stuff, I had some motor issues. Basically, it burnt the rings out of it. It started at Hickory, because we started burning really black at Hickory, but thought maybe just needed to change jets or whatever. Really, we was just burning oil. So we were down a little bit of horsepower at Hickory. We were down a lot of horsepower at Ace, and we had to ship it off, and the only thing we could do is rent a motor. So we rented a motor. It was a good motor, pretty much freshly rebuilt. Wasn't worried about it at all. Did all the proper maintenance we needed to do to it. Redid everything, including the fuel pump, and everything was fine through practice, qualifying, and then first lap of the race, just blowing smoke out. Gasket blows right there. Don't know how that happens, but it did. And we smoked the whole race. So we pitted probably 10, 15 times, I think. But the first time we pitted, we didn't know what it was. I had no idea, of course. So we pull in. I rode around the back because I was smoking so much. Didn't know if I was putting oil on the track. Like, I was nervous about getting black flagged. So we pitted, put diapers on it, cleaned it up, and went back in the field, tail end, rode around, waited for the next caution, pitted again. That was the story literally for our whole race until probably about lap 60 or 70. Then we got it to where it wasn't smoking so bad, and I could make some passes if I needed to. I could also, the thing I was doing is I was trying not to lose another lap on track. When you have to start tailing in the field, because I would pit under a closed pit every time. I had to get it cleaned up in time. So I had to start tail end of and everybody's laying back so much that by the time that I took the green flag, the leaders were already exiting too.
Yeah.
So I had to dig to stay on the lead lap. And I did a couple of times, and we were able to pass some good cars in the process. Like, I passed, a gaggle of 3 or 4 cars, probably 4 different times.
Yeah.
Like, it was the same cars, but I would just blow by them.
Right.
Old tires, new tires, didn't matter. In the process, I got to save a lot of tire too, because we didn't have to race hard. Didn't have to, but we did. And I never really thought that I would get penalized like we did. So what happened was, typically at a NASCAR track, or typically in a car store, we have a red-yellow flag, which red-yellow means you can work on your car, but the cars on track are parked because the track's blocked or whatever.
Yep.
It just makes late model racing easier, right?
It does.
So, because things happen, right?
Right.
The reason I think that rule was put in place in the beginning is because there's issues in late model racing. A lot of teams don't have a full-time team that, so sometimes there's issues. They need to work on shit. And they want everybody to finish. So that's what it was. Problem is, it's a NASCAR sanctioned track. So at that NASCAR sanctioned track, one of the rules is you can only have red flags. And I guess somewhere that discrepancy where we were cleaning oil off of the windshield, firewall, headers, everything, where we was cleaning oil, was essentially the same thing as changing a right front suspension. If like there's no difference. So we got penalized 2 laps, even though the official said, yeah, y'all can clean it, just don't work on it. It's just part of it. I'm sure it was a miscommunication deal. Came at a bad cost to us, but is what it is. So we ended up losing 2 laps because of that, and at that time we were still in the lead lap. Like, we were still pretty good shape, right? Like, I was just chilling, and but then when we lost 2 laps, it kind of just screwed everything up. But that didn't really stop me from going out and passing people. If I was 2 laps down, I was going to stay 2 laps down, or at least make it up. I wasn't going to go 3. So passed some cars, battled really hard with a lot of really good drivers, and most people raced me clean. Some really raced hard for being me on a different lap, but that's part of it. I guess you guys can watch the vlog to figure out who I'm talking about, but there's a couple of them out there that like to really, really pinch you getting in, especially for being on your own lap. Is what it is. Moving on, it was fun as shit because I felt like I was racing for 10th.
Yeah.
Everybody's racing me really hard, so
Yeah.
I was like, hell yeah, and making some hay on the top. So it was good. If I'm racing at Wilkesboro, I'm pretty much smiling anyway. It felt like a different racetrack. How bright it was, by the way. We'll get into that. But yeah, it was a lot. I raced really hard. I was taking in a lot of smoke, so I was felt pretty bad right after the race. But once I got some water and I wasn't hot, I was just like coughing. I couldn't quit coughing. And
I put on here in my notes Dylon's lung oil consumption.
Yeah, the lung oil consumption ratio was pretty high. I don't know how much I took in, but there was definitely a taste of motor oil or something in my mouth afterwards because I was spitting some residue up for sure after the race. A lot of smoke inhalation, I guess, is what causes it. And I was pretty frustrated too. So just because I know how our car was good. Like, I was passing the shit out of people that usually it's difficult to pass.
Yeah.
And we kind of made some hay. So it sucks because we don't have nothing to show for it. Finished 26th, but we did have a good car, and we still have a clean car, and we had one that was ready to go to Tri-County and hopefully make up for what we've lost so far this year. But we got rained out, so now we're going to take it to Langley and see if we can't learn a new track. So wasn't ideal. If there's any race of the year that I would love to go perfectly, it'd be Wilkesboro, but it went the opposite. It went pretty much as bad. Well, not as bad as it could have went, but it went pretty bad as far as something stupid that took us out essentially. So check your fuel pumps, I guess. These fuel pumps are pieces of shit anyway that are on these enforcers. So these it's just part of it. You just gotta take it on the chin and move on to the next one, just like I did last week. So here we are, still grinding. Wilkesboro's always fun, and we'll be hopefully back for the next one. Hopefully next year, maybe we get a couple chances there or something. We'll see what happens. So I'm excited either way to keep on pressing on. But it did feel like a different racetrack with all the lights. I mean, even the GoPros.
Yeah.
Like if you look at last year's footage from the stands and this year, I mean, it's just
totally
it don't
different.
look like it looks like a completely different racetrack. It's crazy how that kind of stuff works out. So the lights weren't the only difference in the track this year. There was quite a few, but what's some of the key differences in Wilkesboro this year, whether while you were racing or just fan experience or whatever, just some of the stuff that stood out to you that changes wise versus last year?
Yeah, well, safer barrier.
Yeah.
Changed how much racetrack you use coming off for sure.
It did, yeah.
I humbled myself a few times and made myself
I had a couple when you have one eye open going down the back stretch.
I took
That's how
5 laps worth of tire, maybe more, off of 4 because I got too greedy. And next thing you know, I'm like, oh, God. And so buzzed all right rear. So that was on me. It was cool and weird at first, too. Like, when you got to the crossover gate, now there's a big old grandstand there.
Yeah.
Last year that was campers and people standing at the fence. And I mean, it was cool. I mean, that grandstand was pretty full. So that was cool. Obviously, I think me and you kind of touched on it. The track raced different because of the patches. Find a little grip here.
Yep.
Expect to have a little there, and it did the opposite. So, but to me, that made it fun.
Any recommendations for things they should do in the future at Wilkesboro? Or nothing off the top of your head? I have one. I think that pros and late models should have their own day and wheat.
Yeah, well, me and you talked about that. So, like, I'm not shitting on anybody. I'll hit on this real quick so we don't get too long-winded because this is the facts. Again, not complaining about ASA, but anybody can go back and look. Everybody knew that the car store was going there on this date. I may be wrong, but I know probably at least 6 months in advance, if not longer.
Yeah.
Okay? It's going to be us and the pros, bar none. Well, I think around March, like maybe even when we were going to Kinley for our first race, it got announced, hey, ASA is going to run Tuesday night at Wilkesboro. Mm-hmm. Cool.
Yeah.
I know what they're going to say, but like I think probably what you could have done because it was a one-day show anyway. You probably could have ran the supers on Thursday night.
Yeah.
Probably.
I'm sure NASCAR made that very difficult.
But it definitely made it. I will say that was probably more responsible for the parking disaster than anything.
Yeah.
Because a lot of those guys, as you said, they're down there like living the cup life in 1 and 2, but they also have pit road stalls.
Yeah.
Well, like I know, for instance, my team, Butterbean had to move his car 3 different times before finally he ended up settling one trailer over for me pitting in the garage.
Yeah.
It's like, so that would probably just be my thing. It's like,
I agree wholeheartedly. I think next year they should run mods and supers one week on a Wednesday.
Yeah, like the mods run this year, I think, later on in September?
Yeah, like I think you can run supers and mods one week, and the next week you run late models and pros.
Yeah.
I think that
I mean, from a fan, like if you were there, you got to see 3 awesome races.
Yeah. Oh, no doubt.
It couldn't have played out any better for that aspect.
3 series at one time is just a lot.
Yeah.
And with those bigger car counts, it's just a lot.
Yeah.
It's hard to do that and not piss off a lot of people,
Absolutely. So that would be my only thing.
I agree with that. I think next time it would be really cool if Car Store just has Car Store in general has a standalone event at Wilkesboro. Like if it's late model stocks and pros, and we both race. If it's Tuesday, Wednesday, if it's Friday, Saturday, if it's whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, it don't matter when. It don't have to be the week of the Cup race. It can be a couple weeks before, just to get the blood flowing and stuff for everybody. I think people are going to. It don't have to be a companion event,
right?
Because Car Store has its own fans. Like most of the NASCAR fans. I don't know if you caught this, but there's a difference, right? Like the late model fans, grassroots fans, they wore late model shirts and racetrack revival shirts, and the only ones that are kind of in both are the Dale Jr. shirts, right? Because they're at the Cup race and the late model race,
right,
which makes sense. But late models, you'll see, like Cup Day, everybody's in Cup stuff, right? And maybe it is the same people, but I swear I think it's a whole different group of people that are at the Cup race and at the late model race.
I think that's a fair assessment.
So I think it is very viable for Wilkesboro to have a Car Store week or weekend and a Cup week / weekend.
Yeah.
2 separates. And even if it's close by, I don't think it's taken away from anything from the late models or Cup. I think if anything, it makes it a little bit easier on people. But obviously, that's spreading things out. You have to pay more labor because people are working for longer periods of time. So I get it. I'm not saying they did anything wrong. But it will make things probably a lot easier and make the fan experience quite a bit better, too, if just because they'd be able to hang out with the drivers and be able to see more stuff, and it's totally a late model show, then, you'll have – I think people are going to be more likely to come to the late model race if they're not worried about having to go to the Cup race and get in the Cup traffic and all that stuff, too. So – maybe that's an avenue they want to explore, or maybe they'll just have a solution next year to make it a little bit easier with all series there. Like maybe it is a Monday night show and then a Wednesday night show, then a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Like they just need somewhere. They need some kind of halfway or not halfway, just a little bit of a division between the series. Give them their own identities.
Yeah. No, I agree.
So it just I don't like it when people are like, which race are you?
Yeah.
Last year I wasn't really like that. I mean, it was a little bit, but I'm fine with some companion street stocks and limiteds. But this year was, which race you in? You in the damn Tuesday one or one of the Wednesday ones? They're all late models. I don't know which late model's which.
Yeah. No, I'm with you.
So I'd rather say I'm in a Car Store race.
That's right.
So that's a little bit easier to say. So I'm probably, I'm being a little critical, but that's just, I think they'd make things a little bit easier going forward. So Wilkesboro was a great time. I think I can speak for both of us in saying that we'll race there no matter how many damn series are there at that time. I know I always will. It don't matter how much of a festival it ends up being or whatever every year, but I'll always be happy to race at Wilkesboro no matter who's racing with us. So
oh yeah,
that goes without saying. I guess the first Cars Tour penalties of the year have been handed out. There's a couple of them this past weekend, and we are a Cars Tour podcast, so we do report on the Cars Tour. So, first of them being that Mason Diaz got a probation deal, right? And
for the rest of the year. Yep.
And a fine.
I don't think he got fined.
Oh, okay. Well, he wrecked Jacob Hefner and rear clipped it. I mean, he knocked shit out of the wall. Wrecked him pretty bad getting in. I don't really know what the circumstances were, why he wrecked him, or if he lost brakes, or what happened. But he did wreck him, and whether it was intentional or not, the Cars Tour didn't like it, and they gave him probation. So, and I think there's a place in racing for that for sure. As far as probations and stuff, like I think you gotta do your thing. I'm not here to say if it's justified or not. Hell, I don't pay that much attention to Mason or Jacob or whatever. I think Jacob he threw a shoe boot or something, right?
Yeah, he threw his heat shield boots at him, I think,
okay,
or a heat shield boot.
So when I drove through there, I didn't put two and two together. I seen him standing up the track, and I seen something shiny, and I missed it. I'm like, damn, what the hell was that? I didn't know what happened.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, that was.
I think there was a car in between me and I seen him throw it. So.
That's funny. Did you know it was a shoe boot, or did you think it was
I just
something
seen
harder?
him. I'll be honest. When I first seen him coming on the racetrack, I'm like, well, here goes the $1,000 Hans device.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But
looks like Jacob had a little bit better head on his shoulders
Yeah.
and getting rid of the Hans that time.
So that's what I thought at first. But the closer I got, I started seeing something shiny too. But then at first I was like, well, what is it? Something off a race car? But then I was like, oh, okay, it's just this heat shield boots.
He's pretty mad. Jacob. I guess that's kind of out of character. I don't usually see him too awful mad. I don't think.
Yeah, no, he's pretty pissed,
calm guy usually.
Yeah. But
he stays out of the headlines in a good way. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
runs good, but it's.
I get it. I mean, that car was tore up. They had a lot of. They used the
entire
entire
if I was
super
Jacob,
race.
I'd have done the same thing.
They used the entire super race, cutting that thing up just to get it loaded up.
Yeah, if I was Jacob, I'd have 1,000% done the same thing or worse.
Yeah.
So I get it, but yeah, a little bit of controversy there. There's another penalty handed out.
Yep.
For
they slapped the Donnie Wilson team, I believe, on the 24 car. I know it was Brent Cruz, but I believe he was in the 24.
For lead in the water bottle, right?
Yeah. So.
Damn. That's got to be some nasty tasting water.
Yeah, it had to be pretty gritty.
Part of it, man, just that is part of being creative and doing innovative things in short track racing, and I think that is. I guess it's you're supposed to not really talk much about it, but that's just how that's what they got busted for putting lead.
No, I think all of us. I mean, I know how I took it when I was seeing it. I kind of laughed. And
yeah,
I said,
I didn't know what it was when I read it, and then somebody told me that they had. I'm like, oh, okay, I got it.
Yeah,
they just got caught. This part of it.
Yeah.
It's hard to get away with stuff like that, so they're brave. I'll give it to them, that's for sure. But they got busted and got a little fine, I believe.
That one was a fine. I can't remember the amount, but that one was a fine. So
you'll have that. I would like to be a fly on the wall for when situations like that you get caught, because we've all been caught being too heavy or whatever, and that's just part of it, or being too low or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Or a template not fitting, but I have not been in a situation like that yet, nor have I really seen one happen. So I would like to be a fly on the wall when those officials pulled out a 50-pound water bottle. Man, it was probably like maybe 5 pounds.
This thing's heavy.
It probably wasn't very heavy, but it was enough that they noticed it.
They were enough. This ain't fluid.
Right.
Nothing liquid in here, guys.
Yeah, this is, god dang, man, you ain't cleaned your water bottle out in a while, have you? Because it's awful heavy in here. It's a little stiff. I'd like to see how that came about, but it's just part of the game, man. That's part of being innovative. So hats off to trying it. Sucks to get caught, I guess.
Yep.
But that's just part. That's racing. I think it's fun. I think it's a cool topic to hear stuff like that. I'm curious to know if they have a form-fitted piece of lead or something that goes inside of a big water bottle, or if it was just a one chunk with like shit on.
The way I understood it was like, imagine you having the old water bottle in there and they unscrewed it and stuck it on in there and thought they were going to roll on through.
Yeah, well,
happened to be the one week that an official said.
In reality, they were probably just maybe probably just close, right? They're maybe a pound or two over, and they just put a 2-pound, 3-pound little block in there just for a little extra, be safe, make sure we make it, and they got busted. So that's just part of it. Again, that's just part of the innovation in short track racing. So I think that's a cool topic to talk about. But yeah, so a lot of stuff leading into Langley coming up.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of storylines and stuff that we just talked about.
Yeah.
You should have your teammate is a regular there, past champion. You should have some pretty good notes and stuff. 3-time champion.
Yeah.
You should have a pretty good notebook to go off of a little bit. But you've ran good at Langley in the past, right?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I mean, I've got big expectations going up there. It is one of those where I think I know kind of going in. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's not like I'm saying go ahead and give him the trophy by no means. But he is going to be a force to be reckoned with because he runs good up there. I mean, he won that race last year in his own stuff.
Yeah.
And beat the 8 straight up. So,
the points race getting a little closer.
It's getting a little closer. Too. Yeah, he's coming on.
He closed the gap a little bit.
So, but yes, to answer your question, I mean, obviously, I'm using that as a positive to hopefully just make me that much closer. I mean, obviously, Brennan's going to be really good, and I fully expect.
Well, obviously, late model racing is a little different than Cup. Just because Kyle Busch runs good at Darlington, a lot of times that means the other Gibbs Cup. Well, in the years past, one Gibbs car runs good there. Typically, the rest of the cars run good there the next year. It's not necessarily the same in late model racing. Everybody has different notebooks, and it's not like a big Hendrick team.
I will say, I mean, I'm excited to get there and I'm not gonna. Sorry, even to you, buddy. I'm not gonna share them on here, but Brendan has told me some things that he does there that I've never would have thought about. I mean, like I said, I have ran good there, but the things he's told me, I'm like, what? Yeah. And I'm excited to go up there and try them and see if it works for me or doesn't. I mean,
well, I'm excited to go see the racetrack for the first time if that makes you feel any better.
She's real flat.
Yeah.
You will get to see an air show.
Langley's cool though. I do like. I've always thought it was a really neat track on iRacing and stuff. Not that it's probably anything like it, but I do like the idea of it being flat and wide and worn out. And is it still pretty worn out, or is
It is. So they did the same thing Tri-County did.
Okay.
They paved their corners now, but it has worn. But they're still grip, if that makes sense.
Right.
So I think it's a fun place. You do feel the transition.
You can't go 110% the whole race.
You can not ever.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Okay. Well, that's cool. That kind of lines up with me a little bit. So, Langley it's a 5.5 hour drive for me. What is it, about 4 hours for you? Roughly?
4.5, yeah.
Yeah. So, pretty good little haul. And then we go right to Dominion right after that, which is another 5.5 hour tote for me.
Totally opposite. You got high grip, high bank.
Yep.
No grip, no bank.
Yeah, so it's two crazy polar opposite racetracks coming up and two very far away racetracks for us. So it's a very tough time of year for me. I'm trying to stay nice and motivated and still look forward to all the content and stuff coming, but it's going to be a lot. Like, my wife can't go with me to Langley, so it's going to be hard to get a lot of filming done there. So trying to come up with plans on how I'm going to get stuff filmed and stuff like that.
Might be where you can use our newfound friend. Maybe call up Colin, have him come do.
Get Colin do a little filming. I could do that if he exists. Not sure if he exists or not. There's a question in my mind if that guy is actually a real person, or we did see he was at Wilkesboro, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just making sure because I'm not sure.
And he did sleep in a truck bed.
He seemed like some kind of spirit or something that was just grazing around remember, he would leave for like 3 hours and then he would just show back up.
Yeah.
So I wasn't sure, and he'd come back and he'd be about half shit faced, and I'd be like, "Damn, what happened?" But he's a really cool.
He told me he was going to explore.
Yeah, he did. He just went and checked things out. So, real cool guy, Colin Bowden. He's a friend of Moonhead's to begin with, and come to hang out. He had Moonhead. To give you all the backstory, Moonhead said, "Hey man, I got a buddy that might come sleep in the back of my truck while we're at Wilkes. That's cool, because we try to monitor our parking and stuff, so we don't have a million people in there." I'm like, yeah, sure, that's fine. And I thought he would just end up sleeping somewhere, probably not in the back of the truck, but sure enough, he slept in the back of the truck the first night. And then after that, we graduated him to a bed. So
yeah,
we did help him out a little bit, but he seemed like a mythical figure to me because he was just living in the moment. That guy had more fun at Wilkesboro than anybody, so that was pretty cool. And
so what's your expectations for Langley? Obviously, we've told our viewers that obviously new place for you.
I think, I don't know. I don't really have a bunch of expectations, but did just get the motor rebuilt. Everything's fresh in one piece. The new track. I'd imagine it won't be a field of 50 cars or nothing, so should be a day where I can focus on race pace and stuff and practice, and typically that works out for me a little bit better. But man, I'd like to go out there and just get a top 15. I'd feel good about that, get the momentum built back up. But my goal is to go get a top 15, win rookie of the race. That's always the goal. And just cross another new track off the list and come out of there mostly unscathed. I'm kind of tired of worrying about ripping the right side off and shit. I'm over that. I don't really care about donuts and stuff anymore. So,
well, you'll be using it.
Yeah, we'll get a little more aggressive. My expectations is to come back, whether we finish top 15 or not, but to come back and say I did everything I could. I passed every car I could pass and tried like hell if I couldn't pass them. So. Yeah. That's my goal. Hopefully, to go I want to qualify top 20 and finish top 15. That's my easy goal. But for the most part, I'd really just like to be able to keep passing race cars and advancing our position and win rookie of the race, and hopefully go put a good case in for rookie of the year at the end of the year, because we are pretty much we're getting real close to halfway.
Yeah.
And I'd like to start expanding that gap a little bit, because I think these next got Hickory and Wake coming up, and I feel good about Tri-County too. Hickory and Wake is later in the year, but still yet, that's races that I feel good about having a shot to finish top 10, top 5. So,
right.
So, especially with a motor in the car. So, I'm looking forward to that. I guess that's my goals. What about you? I think you might be a little bit higher expectations than me. But
yeah, I mean, I feel like I do this every week. And so, like, my thing, man, is just, we're not, and I say we because I'm not a guy to point fingers, I'm just not. Mm-hmm. This deal's hard. I mean, I know we can both agree on that. Yeah. And, not to get too off track here, but I heard Ben Rhodes make a comment last night that I feel like I can totally relate to, and he put it in great perspective. He's been full-time in the truck series since 2017. Mm-hmm. And he said that each year he feels like he gets better, but that the competition surpasses that.
Yeah.
And so I feel the same way in the aspect, other than, unfortunately, I've kind of plateaued as far as like where I've gotten better. I feel like I've just kind of like hit a flat line. But it definitely has gotten harder. So, but, I have ran good there. I've got a second place at the Hampton Heat there. Qualified good there a couple times, and it's a very straightforward track. It does eat tires. Mm-hmm. You can run on the outside, but you don't want to get stuck up there long because it wears them worse. Yeah. So my goal is to go up there. I'd love to qualify top 10 and finish top 10. Anything higher than that's gravy. Yeah. But, I think for us, really and truly, we should be able to go up there probably and run top 6. But, I want to qualify top 10 and finish top 10. So
that's a good goal. I think we both can do it. I think both of our programs are to a level where we can achieve our goals, our separate goals for sure. So it'd be nice to have a podcast where we just did both of we ran great, everything went good, and we're looking for the next one. So hopefully that's the story when we come back after Langley, because I'm tired of shit going wrong and qualifying like hell, and I'm sure you're tired of getting the shit into the stick sometimes. So looking forward to changing our luck a little bit. We'll drink to that tonight. We'll changing our luck up a little bit. So appreciate all you guys tuning in. Anything else we need to
No, just
about
I think like you said, I know that I had, and I think I can speak for Dylon as well. Or a matter of fact, I know a couple people come to us, but we just appreciate all you guys. This is something that he and I decided to do really and truly about 2 weeks before Southern National.
We're not professionals. We're just doing it for fun.
We do this for fun. I enjoy driving down here from Kernersville to do this every week with my buddy, and so we just appreciate all you guys listening. Without that, we wouldn't be able to do it. And I had quite a few people come up to me at Wilkesboro and say, "Hey, man, love the podcast, love what you guys are doing," and actually was asking when the next one was coming out. I said, "Well, I can't give you a day this week because
we kind of wanted to do it at Wilkesboro.
We did. We did.
It got to where it was just a party, and we didn't want to stop it. That's really all. That's the only excuse we have. So this one's a little late, but better late than never.
Yeah.
You guys still get to hear our stories on Wilkesboro. So I appreciate everyone tuning in. I want to thank Slurp Shots for coming on board as my primary sponsor at North Wilkesboro and beyond, as well as Stardust Cellars and Two Boroughs Brewery. Crossroads Harley Davidson was your primary at Wilkes.
They were.
And beyond. So, and then we also got the Well, anybody else you want to thank before?
Yeah, well, folks, as I'm sure you know, as me and Dylan touched on, Tri-County got rained out this week, but one of my other great sponsors, Grand Atlantic Ocean Resort, was going to be the sponsor for the 30,000 race and still will be for the rescheduled date of August 19th. But that's where I was leading into, unplanned, but we will be.
If one of us wins that race, let's immediately go to the Grand Atlantic afterwards.
Oh, yeah.
Just leave the track.
I'm just,
go there.
They can tell me how tech goes. I'm leaving.
Even though we got a race the following week, we're going to go that Saturday night and come back Monday evening or something.
Absolutely. But like I said, unplanned, but because we had to go ahead and put the foot forward for it, I will be unveiling a new paint scheme at Langley. It was for Tri-County, but it will go to Langley.
Cool.
So
that's cool.
Excited about that. Think people will like it. It's definitely different for me, really different. But I like it. Mincy's Graphics did a great job. Love those guys and appreciate everything they've done for me. They've been with me since I got to Lee in 2019, and they always make it happen and put out great work for us. So they're actually on there in a new way. So excited to support that for them as well. So just looking forward to getting to Langley, eating some good food. Always love going up there, and excited to get there next week.
Yep. All right. I appreciate you guys tuning in to another episode of Big Time Auto Racing. And we will be back here after Langley.